Senior cartographer Hyunwoo rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the holographic star map floating before him. He had been working for 12 hours straight aboard the Zephyrian exploration vessel Stellar Compass, updating navigation charts for the Outer Rim territories. Something was bothering him, like an itch he couldn't scratch. The coffee in his mug had gone cold hours ago, but he didn't notice. His four-fingered hands moved across the control panel, zooming in and out of different sectors. Every time he looked at grid section 7749B, he felt confused. There was nothing there, absolutely nothing. That's strange, he muttered to himself, his blue skin glowing slightly in the dim light of his workstation. He pulled up the databases from other species, the Keth Mori Empire, the hegemony of Tal, even the peaceful Vortani Republic. Every single one showed the same thing. Grid section 7749B was marked as empty space, uninhabitable, not worth exploring, but that didn't make sense. Hyunwoo had been mapping stars for 20 years. He knew what empty space looked like, and this wasn't it. According to his long-range sensors, there were over 400 star systems in that sector. Many of them should have planets. Some of those planets should be able to support life. He stood up and stretched his long limbs, his joints making small popping sounds. The observation deck was quiet at this hour. Most of the crew were sleeping. Through the large windows, he could see the stars streaming past as their ship traveled through hyperspace. Hyunwoo walked back to his station and opened a communication channel. First, he called his old friend Zaktor, who worked as a cartographer for the Keth Mori military. Zaktor, sorry to wake you. I have a question about Sector 7749B. 7749B? Zaktor's voice crackled through the speaker. That sector is marked as uninhabitable. Always has been. Why are you asking? What makes it uninhabitable? There was a pause. I don't know. The records just say it's uninhabitable. Dead space. Nothing there worth exploring. Hyunwoo thanked his friend and ended the call. He tried calling 3 more cartographers from different species. They all gave him the same answer. The sector was uninhabitable. When he asked why, none of them could give him a real answer. This was getting interesting. Hyunwoo loved mysteries, and this was turning into a big one. He dug deeper into the historical records. The oldest files he could find were over 1,000 years old. Even back then, Sector 7749B was marked as off-limits. The ancient records called it the Forbidden Zone and mentioned something about the builders who lived there. The builders. Hyunwoo had heard stories about them when he was young. They were supposed to be an ancient race that built amazing things and then disappeared. Most people thought they were just legends, like ghost stories that adults told children. But what if they weren't stories? What if the builders were real and they were still there? Hyunwoo spent the next few hours searching through old databases. He found references to the builders in dozens of different cultures. The Zephyrians called them the Great Architects. The Keth Mori knew them as the Silent Ones. The Vortani had legends about the Watchers in the Dark. All the stories were different, but they had one thing in common. The builders were powerful, mysterious, and they lived in a part of space that nobody else was allowed to visit. The more Hyunwoo researched, the more excited he became. His 3 hearts were beating fast, pumping purple blood through his system. This could be the discovery of a lifetime. What if the builders were still alive? What if they were the reason everyone avoided that sector? He pulled up the sensor readings again. There was definitely something in Sector 7749B. The energy signatures were faint, but they were there. Radio waves. Heat signatures that could be from cities or space stations. Organized patterns that suggested intelligence. Hyunwoo knew he should report this to his captain, but he wanted to be sure first. He ran the scans 3 more times, checking and double-checking his equipment. Every time he got the same results. Sector 7749B was not empty. It was full of life. As the ship's artificial morning began, the light slowly brightened in his section. Other crew members would be waking up soon. Hyunwoo saved all his research to a secure file and made copies on 3 different storage devices. If he was right about this, it would change everything. He looked out the window again. Somewhere out there, in a part of space that every civilization in the galaxy had agreed to ignore, something was waiting. The builders might still be alive. They might be watching. They might be the reason their sector stayed off everyone's maps. Hyunwoo smiled, showing his sharp white teeth. Tomorrow he would talk to Captain Da-hai. He would convince her to take a closer look at the sector that didn't exist. He had a feeling that whatever they found there would be worth the risk. The coffee maker in the corner beeped, signaling fresh coffee was ready. Hyunwoo poured himself a cup and sat back down at his workstation. He had a lot of work to do before morning shift began. Captain Da-hai listened to Hyunwoo's report with growing interest. Her green eyes studied the data on her personal screen, while the cartographer stood nervously in her ready room. The ship hummed quietly around them as they traveled through hyperspace. "You're telling me that every species in the galaxy has the same blank spot on their maps?" she asked, her voice calm but curious. "Yes, Captain. 400 star systems that everyone pretends don't exist." Hyunwoo shifted his weight from one foot to the other. "I think we should take a look." Da-hai was quiet for a long moment. She had been captain of the Stellar Compass for 8 years. She knew when something was worth investigating, and she also knew when something was dangerous. This felt like both. "Command won't like this," she said finally. "We're supposed to be mapping the outer rim, not chasing old legends. But Captain, what if the legends are true? What if the builders are still there?" Da-hai made her decision. "Change course, but we approach carefully. If there's really something in that sector, I want to know what it is before it knows about us." 2 days later, the Stellar Compass dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Sector 7749B. The bridge crew was quiet as they ran their first scans. Communications Officer Minho's tentacles moved quickly over his control panel, his large eyes focused on the readings. "Captain," Minho said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I'm picking up radio transmissions." "From where?" "Multiple sources, at least 12 different planets in this sector." Minho's tentacles trembled slightly. "The signals are organized, structured. This isn't natural background radiation." Science Officer Yunji looked up from her station. "I'm detecting fusion reactors, lots of them, and some kind of energy grid connecting different star systems." Da-hai felt her pulse quicken. "Show me." The main screen filled with a map of the sector. Red dots marked the locations of energy sources. Lines connected them, showing what looked like a communication network spanning dozens of worlds. "This is impossible," whispered Navigator Junho. "A civilization this advanced should be known throughout the galaxy, unless they don't want to be known," Da-hai said quietly. The ship moved deeper into the sector, staying far from any of the inhabited worlds. The crew worked in silence, gathering data and trying to make sense of what they were seeing. The technology was unlike anything in their databases, but it was clearly very advanced. "Captain," Minho called out, "I'm intercepting a transmission. Put it through the speakers." The bridge filled with strange sounds. It was clearly a language, but not one that any of them recognized. The words were soft and flowing, with a musical quality that was almost pleasant to listen to. "Can you translate it?" Da-hai asked. Minho worked at his station for several minutes. "The language is completely unknown, but there are mathematical patterns embedded in the transmission. The math is beautiful, Captain. Elegant. More advanced than anything I've seen." Yunji looked up from her own analysis. "Captain, I've been studying their energy signatures. Their technology is at least 200 years ahead of anything we know. Maybe more." Da-hai walked to the front of the bridge and stared at the main screen. The sector was full of life and activity. Ships moved between worlds. Space stations orbited planets. Energy flowed through massive networks that connected entire star systems. Why would they hide? She wondered aloud. With technology like this, they could rule the galaxy. "Maybe that's exactly why they hide," suggested Hyunwoo. "Maybe they don't want to rule anyone." Before Da-hai could respond, alarms began blaring. Throughout the ship, the main screen flickered and changed, showing 3 unknown vessels approaching fast. "Where did they come from?" Da-hai demanded. "I don't know, Captain," Junho replied, panic in his voice. "They weren't there a second ago." The unknown ships were unlike anything the crew had ever seen. They looked like they were built from scrap metal and spare parts, but they moved with incredible grace and speed. They surrounded the stellar compass in seconds. "They're hailing us," Minho reported. "Open a channel." The main screen changed again, showing the bridge of one of the unknown ships. The being looking back at them was surprisingly familiar. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, just like several species they knew. But there was something different about the eyes. They held intelligence, confidence, and something that might have been amusement. "Greetings," the being said in perfect Zephyrian. "I'm Captain Jamin of the human vessel Defiant Scrapyard. Welcome to our territory." Human? Dahai had never heard of humans before. But this Captain Jamin spoke as if he had been expecting them. "We don't mean any harm," Dahai said carefully. "We're explorers. We were just curious about this sector." Jamin smiled, and Dahai noticed that his teeth were white and straight. "Curiosity is a good thing, Captain. But this sector has been off limits for a very long time, for good reasons." "What reasons?" "Because we prefer our privacy, and because the galaxy isn't ready for us yet." Dahai felt a chill run down her spine. The way Jamin said those words suggested that humanity was far more powerful than their simple-looking ships implied. "Perhaps we should talk," she said. Captain Dahai tried to keep her voice steady as she spoke to the human on the main screen. "We would be honored to meet with you, Captain Jamin." The human's smile never wavered. "Of course, but I'm afraid we'll need to follow some safety rules. Your weapon systems need to be powered down, and we'll need to scan your ship." Dahai felt her crew tense around her. No one had ever made such demands of a Zephyrian exploration vessel, but they were outnumbered and clearly outmatched. "Agreed," she said. "Excellent. We'll dock with your ship in 10 minutes. The screen went dark. Dahai turned to her crew. "You heard him. Power down weapons and prepare for boarding." "Security Chief." Wu Jin stepped forward. "Captain, this could be a trap. We don't know anything about these humans." "That's exactly why we need to talk to them," Dahai replied. "But stay alert." 10 minutes later, the stellar compass shuddered slightly as the human ship docked. Dahai waited in the main cargo bay with 5 of her crew members. The airlock hissed open, and Captain Jamin walked through. He was taller than he had appeared, on screen with dark hair and brown eyes. His uniform looked simple but well-made. Behind him came 3 other humans, 2 males and 1 female. They moved with quiet confidence, like people who were comfortable in dangerous situations. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," Jamin said, extending his hand in what appeared to be a greeting gesture. Dahai tentatively reached out and shook it. The human's grip was firm but not threatening. "This is my science officer, Hai Jin," Jamin said, gesturing to the female human. "My engineer, Taeho, and my navigator, So Young." Each human nodded politely as they were introduced. Dahai found herself studying their faces, trying to understand these strange beings. "Would you like to see our ship?" Jamin asked. "I think you'll find it interesting." Dahai agreed, and soon she and Hyunwoo were walking through the corridors of the human vessel. The inside was nothing like the outside. While the exterior looked like scrap metal, the interior was clean, efficient, and clearly very advanced. "Your ship is remarkable," Dahai said as they entered what appeared to be the bridge. "The technology is far beyond anything we know. We've had a long time to perfect it," So Young replied from her position at the navigation station. "Humans have been building spaceships for over 600 years. 600 years? Hyunwoo looked shocked. "But we've never encountered your species before." "That's because we didn't want you to," Taeho said from his engineering station. "We've been watching the galactic community for centuries. We know about every major species, every war, every peace treaty." Jamin led them to a conference room where a large screen showed detailed maps of the galaxy. But these maps were different from any Dahai had ever seen. They showed ship movements, trade routes, military positions, and political boundaries for dozens of species. "How long have you been watching us?" Dahai asked. "Since your people first developed faster-than-light travel," Haye-jin replied. We've been monitoring radio transmissions, studying your technology, tracking your expansion patterns. Why? Hyunwoo's voice was barely above a whisper. Jae-min sat down across from them. Because someone needs to. The galaxy is a dangerous place. Without guidance, species tend to destroy themselves or try to destroy others. What do you mean, by guidance? Da-hai asked. Though she was beginning to suspect the answer, So Young activated the screen, showing a timeline of galactic history. 300 years ago, the Kethmori Empire was preparing to invade Zephyrian space. They had built a massive fleet and were ready to attack. I remember reading about that, Da-hai said. The invasion never happened. The Kethmori fleet had technical problems and had to return home. Technical problems that we caused, Taeho said quietly. We hacked their navigation systems and made their ships think they were low on fuel. No one was hurt, but the invasion was stopped. The screen changed to show another event. 150 years ago, a plague was spreading through Vortani, space. It would have killed millions. The cure was discovered by a Vortani scientist, Hyunwoo said. It saved their entire civilization. The cure was developed by human scientists and anonymously delivered to the right Vortani research facility, Hyejin explained. We've done this dozens of times, prevented wars, stopped plagues, shared technology when needed. Da-hai felt dizzy. You've been protecting the galaxy without anyone knowing? Protection is the wrong word, Jae-min said. We prefer to think of it as gentle guidance. We let species develop naturally, but we step in when things go very wrong. But why stay hidden? With your technology, you could lead the galaxy to a golden age. The humans exchange glances. Because leadership often becomes control, So Young said, and control often becomes oppression. We've studied enough civilizations to know how that story ends. So you watch from the shadows, Da-hai said. We watch from the shadows, Jae-min agreed. And we act only when necessary. Until now, it's worked well. Until now? Jae-min's expression became serious. The galaxy is changing, Captain Da-hai. New threats are emerging. Species are becoming more aggressive. We may not be able to stay hidden much longer. Da-hai realized she was witnessing something historic. First contact with a species that had been silently protecting the galaxy for centuries. The question was, what happened next? Captain Jae-min led Da-hai and Hyunwoo to the observation deck of the human ship. Through the large windows, they could see a sight that took their breath away. A massive space station floated in the distance, surrounded by hundreds of smaller vessels. The station was beautiful, with flowing curves and gleaming surfaces that caught the light from nearby stars. This is Station Alpha, Jae-min said. One of our main research facilities. We have 12 others like it throughout the sector. Da-hai stared at the station. It was easily 10 times larger than the biggest Zephyrian space station she had ever seen. How many humans live there? About 50,000, So Young replied. Scientists, engineers, families. We have over 2 billion humans living in this sector. 2 billion? Hyunwoo's voice cracked. That's more than most planetary populations. Heejin smiled. We've been very busy for the past few centuries. They moved to a smaller meeting room where Taeho was waiting with what looked like a collection of artifacts. Da-hai recognized some of them immediately. There was a Kethmori military communicator, a Vortani medical scanner, and several other pieces of technology from different species. We've been studying your people for a long time, Taeho said, picking up the Kethmori communicator. This is from the ship that was supposed to lead the invasion of Zephyrian space. We borrowed it for a few hours to understand how their fleet communications worked. Borrowed? Da-hai asked. We have ways of getting things without being noticed, Jae-min said. Your species aren't the only ones with advanced technology. Hyejin activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked locations where humans had intervened in galactic affairs. There were dozens of them, spread across hundreds of years. Here, she said, pointing to a red dot near Zephyrian space. We stopped a civil war by making sure the right evidence reached the right people at the right time. No one died, and your planet avoided 50 years of conflict. And here, So Young added, pointing to another dot. We prevented a mining accident that would have destroyed an entire Vortani colony. We sent an anonymous message warning them about unstable ground conditions. Dahai studied the map. You've been everywhere, helping everyone. Not helping, Jamin corrected. Preventing disasters. There's a difference. We don't solve problems for other species. We just make sure they have the chance to solve problems themselves. Teho picked up what looked like a small metal cube. This is a human communication device. It can send messages across the galaxy instantly without any delay. Instantly? Hyunwoo leaned forward. That's impossible. Even our fastest communications take days to cross the galaxy. Not for us, Teho said. We solved the problem of faster-than-light communication about 400 years ago. We also solved faster-than-light travel, energy production, and food synthesis. Then why do your ships look so primitive? Dahai asked. The humans laughed. Because we want them to, So Young said. If other species see ships that look advanced, they ask questions. If they see ships that look like junk, they ignore us. Jamin gestured to the walls around them. This ship can outrun anything in the galaxy. Our weapons can disable entire fleets without destroying them. Our shields can deflect anything you can throw at us. But from the outside, we look like scrap metal. It's the perfect disguise, Hyojin added. No one expects advanced technology to look simple. Dahai was beginning to understand. You've been watching us all along, learning about us, studying our weaknesses and our strengths, Jamin said. Every species has both. The Zephyrians are excellent explorers but terrible at settling conflicts. The Kethmori are great warriors but poor diplomats. The Vortani are brilliant scientists, but they don't think about practical applications. What about humans? Hyunwoo asked. What are your strengths and weaknesses? The humans were quiet for a moment. Our strength is that we learn from everyone, So Young said finally. We take the best ideas from every species and make them better. And our weakness? Teho looked serious. We're very good at making things work, but we're not always good at knowing when to stop. Jamin stood up and walked to the window. That's why we stay hidden. If we revealed ourselves, we might try to fix everything. And some things are better left alone. But you can't stay hidden forever, Dahai said. Eventually, someone will discover you. We know, Hyojin replied. That's why we're talking to you now. The galaxy is changing. New species are developing advanced technology. Some of them are more aggressive than the ones we've dealt with before. There's a species called the Dominion growing stronger in the Outer Rim, Jamin said. They believe in conquest through force. They've already destroyed 3 smaller civilizations. We've been trying to stop them quietly, So Young added. But they're too smart and too careful. Soon we might have to act more directly. Which means revealing ourselves, Teho finished. Dahai felt the weight of what she was hearing. You're asking us to help you decide. We're asking you to help us prepare, Jamin said. If we reveal ourselves, everything changes. The galaxy will never be the same. And if you don't, then the Dominion might destroy everything we've worked to protect. The room fell silent. Dahai realized she was part of a decision that would affect billions of lives across the galaxy. Captain Jamin led Dahai and Hyunwoo to a transport shuttle that would take them to see something special. As they flew through space, Dahai looked out the window and gasped. A blue and green planet hung in the darkness, covered with swirling, white clouds. It was beautiful beyond words. This is Earth, Jamin said quietly. Our home world. The planet was surrounded by massive space stations and orbital habitats. Ships moved between them like busy insects. Dahai had never seen anything so organized and peaceful. 22 billion humans live here and in the orbital cities, So Young said from the pilot's seat. This is where we started our journey to, the stars. As they flew closer, Dahai could see cities on the planet's surface that glowed with soft light. The oceans were clean and blue. The land was green and healthy. It looked like paradise. Your world is incredible, Hyunwoo whispered. It's like something from a dream. We've worked hard to keep it that way, Tejo replied. We learned early that technology should serve life, not destroy it. They landed at a facility near one of the orbital elevators. Inside, they were greeted by more humans. These were clearly leaders, older, more serious, but still welcoming. They gathered in a large room with windows that looked out at Earth. This is the Council of Earth, Jaemin explained. They help make decisions about humanity's future. An elderly woman named Sunja spoke first. Captain Dahai, we've been watching your species for many years. The Zephyrians are good people, curious, brave, but also wise enough to avoid unnecessary conflicts. That's why we chose to reveal ourselves to you first, added a man named Donghyun. We need allies who can help us make the right choice. Dahai looked around the room. What choice? A younger woman named Yu Jin activated a holographic display. It showed the galaxy, but this time there were new red markers spreading across the outer rim. The Dominion, she said. They've conquered 6 star systems in the past year. They're not stopping. We've tried everything, said another council member named Kyung Ho. We've disabled their ships, confused their navigation, even made their weapons malfunction. But they adapt quickly. They're getting stronger. Sunja stood up and walked to the window. We estimate they'll reach the intergalactic systems within 10 years. When they do, billions will die. So what are your options? Dahai asked, though she was afraid of the answer. We can stay hidden and hope someone else stops them, Donghyun said. But no current galactic species has the technology to fight the Dominion effectively. Or we can reveal ourselves and take direct action, Yujin added. But that changes everything forever. Jaemin sat down across from Dahai. If we reveal ourselves, we become the protectors of the galaxy openly. Every species will look to us for answers, for protection, for leadership. And that's bad? Yunwoo asked. It's dangerous, Sunja replied. Power corrupts, even when you start with good intentions. We might begin as protectors and end as rulers. Kyung-ho nodded. We've seen it happen to other species. The strong always end up controlling the weak, even when they don't mean to. Dahai thought about everything she had learned. So you're asking us what we think you should do? We're asking you to help us prepare the galaxy, Yujin said. If we decide to reveal ourselves, other species need to be ready. They need to understand that we're not conquerors. How would that work? Dahai asked. Jaemin smiled. We would start small. A few species at first, ones we trust. We would share some of our technology, help them become stronger. Then when the Dominion arrives, we wouldn't be fighting alone. The Zephyrians would be excellent partners, So Young said. Your people are natural explorers and diplomats. You could help us contact other species. Donghyun leaned forward. But we need to know. If we reveal ourselves, will you help us? Will you stand with us when the galaxy learns the truth? Dahi felt the weight of the decision. Everything she said in the next few minutes could change the fate of every living being in the galaxy. The Zephyrians have always believed in cooperation, she said carefully. If humanity truly wants to protect the galaxy, not rule it, then yes, we would stand with you. Even if it means war with the Dominion, Kyung-ho asked. Even then, Da-haye replied. The council members looked at each other and nodded. Sunja spoke for all of them. Then we have our answer. We will begin preparing for revelation. 3 weeks later, Da-hai sat in her captain's chair aboard the Stellar Compass. They were heading back to Zephyrian space, carrying the most important report in galactic history. In her secure files were detailed plans for first contact protocols, technology sharing agreements, and defense strategies. Yunwoo looked up from his navigation station. Captain, are we doing the right thing? Dahai stared out at the stars. Somewhere in the darkness, human ships continued their silent patrol, protecting a galaxy that didn't know they existed. Soon, that would all change. I don't know, she said, honestly. But I think it's the only choice we have. In the distance, Earth's star grew smaller as they traveled home. Behind them, humanity prepared to step out of the shadows and reveal themselves to a galaxy that would never be the same again.